The Tale of Thor and Mjolnir the Hammer. Today I would like to reintroduce you all to the Norse god of thunder, Thor. In this presentation, I would like to delve into things already known about Thor, discover things unknown about Thor, and bring the Norse mythology to the 21st century. Thor was the god of thunder and fertility. He was also the protector of mankind. He carried a hammer named Mjolnir. He was big with tremendous strength and consistently described as ruddy or red-hued. He had 3 children, 2 kids with his wife, Modi and Thron, and one with the giantess, Magni. Mjolnir is Thor's given weapon/tool. It is the only one of the 3 weapons of the gods to be man-made. Lindau also talks about the other functions of the hammer in his article. Although the hammer is primarily a weapon, Thor's tool has non-violent functions in Norse mythology, giving new life to dead ghosts, sanctifying the bride, and blessing Baldur's funeral pyre. The funeral pyre is the fire pit that bodies were burned on after death. Things that aren't as well known to the modern society is the fact that Thor was normally engaged in battle with giants. Munch describes the giants as a force Thor was trying to protect humans from. It was who guarded men and their labors from wild forces of nature, personified as giants. He also rode in a chariot pulled by 2 ghosts, Tongrisnir and Tongnusgulstur. He could even go so far as to kill and eat them and bring them back alive as long as he had all the bones to do so. He also, like Odin, is associated with blacksmithing or the forging of tools. In the movies and in the Avengers, Mjolnir the Hammer is just how Lindau says Snorri described it, that he could hit as hard as he wanted with it, whatever might be before him, and the hammer would not fail, and if he threw it at something, then he would never lose it or throw it so far that it would not come back to his hand. And if he desired it, then it would become so small that he might even have it in his shirt. If you click the video below, it'll show you just how he held his hand. He held out his hand, the hammer just comes. Munch, however, later believes that Snorri might have jazzed up some of the details of the hammer. He states, since no text shows the hammer functioning as a boomerang or shrinking to fit in a pocket, we may perhaps assume that Snorri added these details to glorify the hammer. Norse mythology is a big hit in modern society. Thor alone has 4 movies and a few additional movies being with the Avengers. With small exceptions like a blonde Thor, many things struck as close to the myth as possible. In the movies, Thor is a bit lighthearted compared to his demeanor described in Munch's Norse mythology. Thor was hot and hasty of temper. When he rode out to greet the giants, the mountains trembled and the earth burst into flames. I, for one, had not been a fan of Norse mythology until I'd seen Thor. I think it had a little to do with Chris Hemsworth, but once I actually watched the storyline, I was interested. John Lindau did a great job in breaking it down further. One thing that stood out to me was how all the gods are flawed. The flaw of the short hammer, however, is mythologically entirely appropriate, for each of the major gods is endowed with some flaw. Odin lacks an eye, Tyr a hand, fire a sword, and so forth. From my understanding, every god is flawed, seemingly as a way to humble them, yet the flaw causes them to be more powerful at the same time. Although Odin was missing the eye, he could see the future. The handle of Thor's hammer is short, which is why it is believed that Snorri exaggerated some of the details of the hammer. If the handle is short, it would make sense that he could just hold up his hand and the hammer would fly to it. Thor during the Viking Age was considered the most worshipped of Norse gods according to Lindau. Thor, the 3rd major god, according to the order of the gods' appearance at Ragnarok, and in the arrangement of their poems in Codex Regius of the poems of Poetic Edda. Although Snorri lists him first after Odin among the Aesir, the scholars are unanimous in regarding Thor as the most worshipped gods of the later Viking Age. Fights with his hammer. I believe because he was the protector of mankind was one of the reasons. I also believe it was because Norse mythology is surrounded in violence and Thor used a tool as a weapon, and the weapon is mighty. Lastly, his tool is man-made and is considered one of the most powerful weapons of the gods. Thor was one of the most worshipped gods widespread, just like Christians wear a cross. People throughout the Viking Age wore symbols of Thor's hammer. Here too perhaps belong the little amulets known as Thor's hammer, of which about 50 examples, mostly made of silver, are known from much of Scandinavia from the end of the Viking Age. These were apparently meant to be worn attached to one's clothing or hung around the neck and understood as conferring protective power to the wearer. This exemplifies how Norse people viewed Thor. He was meant to be the protector of man too, along with thunder and fertility. I think that's why they wore the symbol of Mjolnir, just like the cross. It represents feeling protected by God. In this instance, protected by Thor. In conclusion, Norse mythology is still prevalent in today's society. Thor and his hammer are still noted in many ways as man's protector. Thor has been made into several movies, several video games, and even books. Although I haven't played the games, I excitedly watched the movies and read stories. Rick Warden does a great job in his series, mostly around Thor's son Magni, called Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard. If interested, you should start there, and the possibilities are endless. And here's my word cited sheet. Thank you for your time.